Clash at the Castle coming to Scotland next weekend. Is this where Drew McIntyre finally gets his moment?
MJF back in AEW. How do we feel about that? We'll discuss.
It's once again time to roar around the ring. As we figure out how to do a show again, this place looks different.
Learning to walk again.
Hey, we're back. Clash at the Castle.
It's like getting on a bike or a cardio bike.
We have a lot to catch up on. Of course, our first show since heading into Backlash.
Yes.
And Cody Rhodes still our champion. At Backlash, we saw Cody Rhodes defeat AJ Styles, and we are going to run it back at Clash at the Castle. It started off with AJ Styles pulling out, not literally, the salmon suit with Mark Henry, and a callback to what we saw with that fake retirement with John Cena years and years ago. AJ brought it back. The fake retirement, took out Cody Rhodes. How did you feel about AJ Styles and this whole promo with the fake retirement?
I mean, it was a really cool nod. I think that any of us who were there for that, lived through that, we kind of knew where this was going.
Right.
Because, come on, AJ's not retiring. But it was cool, and I think it's served to a bigger, broader purpose, and because it was a throwback to a very beloved segment, I think it has a lot of people talking, which gives a lot of attention to the feud.
I understand what it did, and I do appreciate the callback, right? And it gives a little fire to this story. I just don't know that we needed it. I mean, it's Cody Rhodes and it's AJ Styles. There's your story, right? We don't expect AJ at any point right now to take the title off Cody, right? We don't expect Cody to not be champion, at least heading into SummerSlam. All we're expecting is a good feud, a couple good pay-per-view matches, PLE matches, and that's it. And that's exactly what all it needs to be, at least, to help Cody's run. The difference, though, between Mark Henry's and Cody Rhodes is, in the AJ Styles segment, I should say, for Cody Rhodes, Mark Henry had people fooled.
Yes.
Genuinely
yes.
had people fooled. Like, this wasn't just a John Cena playing it off for the story. Fans in the crowd, people watching at home, that's why it's talked about so much. It's because we legitimately thought Mark Henry was calling it quits, and he went through the entire thing, had people in tears.
We had the tears and everything. Yeah, Mark Henry was in tears. But that's why I think the segment was really enjoyable, because it brought us back to a time of something we really liked, like a segment we really liked.
Right.
But ultimately, no, you're right. It doesn't serve the broader purpose of what this feud is. It's not really necessary. It's just a nice little garnish on it, if you will.
No, and not once, and like you said, not once did anyone think AJ Styles was actually retiring.
I hope
right?
not.
With Mark Henry back then, Mark Henry had dealt with some injuries. He hadn't been doing too much leading into that segment. So it was a little believable, not knowing what was going on in his personal life, but it was a little believable in the sense that, okay, hasn't really been on TV much, hasn't really been doing much. Okay, maybe he's calling it quits. AJ literally just had a segment the week before with Nick Aldis asking for a title shot. And then the next week, he's, talking about retiring. The fact that it never felt believable, it took away a little bit for me. And I just didn't think going to this extent was needed to push an AJ Styles Cody Rhodes story.
So you felt like you had to kind of like suspend disbelief and just kind of run with that segment.
Right.
I agree with you on that, because as I'm watching it, I'm like, there's no way. And I caught on really early as to what they were trying to do.
Right.
Like, there's no way he's retiring. That suit is very gaudy, so I know what they're going for. Mm-hmm. Who wears that suit, honestly?
Right.
It
not
looks
AJ
like something.
Styles.
Yeah, not AJ Styles. So you kind of knew what they were going for, but I just kind of enjoyed the ride of it. Even though I don't think it serves to the broader purpose. I don't know how much legs they have if they want to bring up the whole Bullet Club thing from New Japan.
Right.
The whole New Japan universe seems more like an AEW thing than it does a WWE thing at this point. So, they could reference that, but maybe they just feel like that doesn't reach enough of the audience as something that's already baked in WWE.
They haven't been afraid to bring up New Japan stuff, especially bringing in Tama Tonga, Loa. I know it's a different thing, but like they brought up their history then. AJ, Finn Balor, they've all kind of made Bullet Club references when in stories together. I think it'll come up a little more. The one thing I did appreciate about this segment with AJ faking the retirement is bringing back, I don't know why Meech and Mia Yim's not involved, but bringing back Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson into the fold, right? Like, that just felt weird for a while because they were together, but they're not together. They didn't officially break up, but they're not on TV. They're not with AJ anymore. And now bringing them back in as heels, it's almost like a throwback to the beat up John Cena era.
Yeah.
Right? And like Gallows and Anderson deserve that and need that. And I think, not that they're anything, I'm not asking to put titles on them or anything, but I think they play perfectly to back up a heel AJ Styles.
I mean, Well, if they were on Raw, I would say you could. Because one, they'd get over very good as they'd get over really well as heels beating R-Truth and Miz.
Yeah.
But again, here we are on SmackDown. They don't really need the titles. So.
No, they don't. And I think on Raw, with the tag teams titles being separated again, if you're comparing divisions, the Raw one is struggling a little bit.
Yes.
Miz and R-Truth, I think, was more of a moment than it is a run.
Yeah.
And I think, at least in my brain, when they won the titles, the story was with DIY, who got sent to SmackDown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I think Gallows and Anderson, it would make more sense and be more believable for them to take the titles off Miz and R-Truth. But back to Cody and AJ here, we added another layer to it on SmackDown heading into Clash at the Castle. This is going to be an I Quit match.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this stipulation with Cody and AJ?
I like it because I think it serves Cody more than it does AJ.
Okay.
And this is going to go back to something you said a while back. Your vendetta against Cody Rhodes for coming out wearing suits.
Yeah.
Okay. This solves that problem for you. If what we saw on Friday we get more of.
Yes.
Cody Rhodes coming out in just his American Nightmare logo t-shirt and some warm-up pants, whatever, and then just being there for a fight. Not coming out to, as you say, speak like a politician and campaign.
Yep.
He's out there for a fight. He's still the champ. He's still, he can still come out in a suit and mean business. But this is Cody Rhodes ready for a fight, an I Quit match, nothing pretty about it.
The reason why I bring that up with Cody is not only just a face heel thing, but the story, leading into WrestleMania, the whole Bloodline story. Dude, you got your ass handed to you by The Rock, right? Yeah. He's talking about your mom, right? He and very in depth. And on top of your story that you're trying to finish for your dad. How are you not more fired up to say, fuck this suit, let's fight, right? Yeah. And this AJ Styles story does the same thing, where it's okay, you made me look like a fool because I come out, I give you your flowers, you fooled everybody, you take me out. Now he's pissed. Again, forget the suit, and here he is in his tank top, cut off.
It's exactly what we needed to see.
This is what we need to see out of Cody Rhodes. So the fire in this story, I love. I have said this multiple times about this stipulation because we've had this stipulation a few times in wrestling recently, most recently Adam Copeland and Christian Cage in AEW. It is a scary stipulation for me just because and I've said this, and it's even more true because of the magnitude of the names in this story. You're telling me, we know Cody's probably not going to say I quit. You're telling me one of these guys are going to say I quit? How are you going to do that without making AJ's run a 1 month thing, without hurting AJ's character? Or, in a world where we think AJ has a shot, how would you have Cody do that without hurting Cody's character? Because if you do this wrong, AJ's character could be shot if he goes to Scotland and says, I quit.
You almost have to. So when a heel wins because they get the face to say I quit or whatever, we've seen in the past, it's because something personal gets involved. Someone personal gets involved or something to the effect. Yeah. It's almost like you have to have Gallows and Anderson drag Brandy down the ramp to the ring and threaten harm on her for Cody to say, okay, I quit. Because it would transfer to the real world where any man, any husband worth his salt, if you're putting his wife in danger, will say, okay, you can have whatever you want. Just leave her alone. Let her go. Right. If you put that in the wrestling world, you bring Brandy down there, they're threatening her with bodily harm. Cody would look like an asshole to be like, I don't care. My championship's more important. Right. So it's that's how you get him to quit. But then again, you run into the problem of now AJ is a transitional champion. And so the whole build up to this thing, the whole drama probably didn't mean anything. Well,
on the other end, you have AJ going as far as to faking retirement because that's how much his title means to him. I can't go to the back of the line, this, that, and the other, right? And now you're going to go to Scotland, and for whatever reason, you're going to say, I quit. What do you do with AJ after he says, I quit in Scotland?
Weird, not even weird, just bold statement here. I almost feel like he has to win the title. And if he does, if we come out of that show with a new WWE champion, I honestly could not be pissed about it because, one, you and I have both mutually agreed. Cody Rhodes does not need to have this championship for a year or 8, 9 months. He can have it for a handful of months. And it's like you finish your story. You became the champion, something your dad never did. We got it. The boxes were checked. If he can get it back later and this serves to a bigger purpose or whatever it may have you, why not? Why not go there just because it's never been done before?
Right. Well, and I think it makes more sense, story speaking, for Cody to drop the title here. Now, in the grand scheme of things, no, it doesn't make sense, right? Cody should be your face right now over AJ. Plus, you have the lingering Rock story from when The Rock was last on TV. Yeah. But is that going to be more focused on what's going on with the Bloodline and Roman's return and what Solo's doing right now? Does Cody even need to be involved in that? Because when Rock left, he says, I'll be back. Or are we holding that off until next year's WrestleMania? Because in my brain, the Rock Cody should be SummerSlam. Rock Roman should be next year's WrestleMania. But why would Rock Cody have a match at SummerSlam if Cody's not champion?
Well, the other thing, too, is Rock's movie that he's either, I don't know what the status is with him, if he's filming it, producing it, whatever it is right now. There's going to have to be promotion for that film. He's going to have to make the cart, all that stuff. Right. I would be surprised, and I don't know what the Rock status is with that, but I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. So if AJ wins, where do you go from there? You could always kind of have Cody back on the chase, but you can also have a thing where maybe someone like Randy Orton gets involved and he wants a title shot too. Right. Now you have a kind of sort of competition between Cody and Orton, which could lead to something to kind of hold you over. But then again, AJ suffers in that situation because now he's just kind of the guy holding the title, and you're looking at the other two guys as the big feud.
Yeah, and I think with Cody, that's why it says, in the grand scheme of things, him dropping the title here doesn't really make sense in the big picture. But if you're looking at this story specifically, AJ fakes retirement to get this title shot. A name like AJ Styles, this isn't just like no shot. We're about to talk about Damian Priest.
This isn't Jinder Mahal.
You know what I mean? This is AJ Styles faking retirement. I can't, given that promo, I can't go to the back of the line only to not only lose, but say I quit in Scotland.
You did all this, and now you have this stipulation.
That's why I don't
to be like, all right, you lost, get back in the line.
That's why I don't love the stipulation. I don't love the stipulation for the story. I don't love that stipulation in general. I really don't. Unless you have someone that's getting ready to take a leave from the company or their contract's up, I don't love this stipulation. And I think AEW did it well, right? If you have a heel like Christian Cage, who's this shit heel, you expect him to be, weak moments.
You can forgive a chicken shit heel for doing that.
Correct, right? Yeah. Sami Zayn when he was a heel, right?
Right.
Like the chicken shit heels, okay, that's fine. AJ is far from that. Cody, of course, is the face of the company.
Yeah.
Neither of these guys saying I quit right now makes sense. AJ getting Brandy involved and kind of doing what the Judgment Day did to Edge back then with Beth Phoenix. That makes the most sense out of any scenario for this match.
That's your only out, unless they do something and orchestrate into a way where, I don't know, man, they both go flying off the stage and through whatever on the side of the stage, and neither of them can get up or respond to anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so the match is just thrown out. But then it's like, so we did all that to throw the match out.
Right.
Now what do we do?
So who you got winning?
If I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Cody. But I will go on. I'm going to go on a limb here and say AJ's going to win that title.
I'm going to say Cody's gonna keep it. I think it's going to hurt AJ. I really do.
Right. He better be going and I'm not wishing surgery and injuries on anybody. But if AJ's going to lose this match and say I quit, he better be gone for a while because he needs to get something done or he's dealing with something.
And that's what I don't like, because you just brought Gallows and Anderson back into the fold with AJ for AJ to leave 2 weeks later.
So what do they do? They beat him up after he quits?
Fantastic.
They just leave. You know what I mean?
I don't hate that because that
can explain him getting off TV.
Well, and that gives them credibility with him gone.
Yeah. Well, I think we just built ourselves in more interest into this match.
We did.
I want to see it more now because I have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I like you said, betting man. I'm not going to bet against Cody Rhodes right now. But I think within the story and the story that they've told, it makes more sense for AJ to win here. It really does.
Agreed.
Speaking of potential transitional champions, Damian Priest defending against Drew McIntyre. Drew had an opportunity with Roman Reigns to get his moment in front of his home crowd, his family, and wasn't able to do it. He kind of had his moment at WrestleMania and then got cashed in on. Is this the time for Drew McIntyre to officially have his moment?
No, he had his moment.
Really?
He had his moment at WrestleMania. He couldn't keep his emotions in check. On top of that, here's the thing that I really love, and it's old man time with Daryl here.
Okay.
All right. So what I really love is I see old man Teeler. What I really love is I see a lot of parallels to, because we're going to his backyard now. We're not in the States anymore. This is Bret Hart 97 again, Canada versus America. I'm only a babyface when I'm in my country. I'm a heel when I'm in yours. But the difference is everything I say is absolutely right. You just don't like to hear it.
Right.
The antagonist, Steve Austin, then replace him now with CM Punk. No championship needs to be involved. The feud itself is what's so interesting, and I think that's what you have with the two of them. That's why I say Drew had his moment. And he squandered it.
I understand that comparison. What kind of gives me a question mark on that, and it's a good thing, right? We've said this about multiple times in the Triple H era, the Paul Levesque era. A lot of people.
Logan Paul Levesque.
Yeah, shout out Paul Levesque, right? But
Logan Paul,
get out of here, dude. When it comes to so many people having a big story now, right? There's so much going on. Gunther just won the King of the Ring, which, by the way, shout out to Triple H for giving the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring meaning.
Love it.
Right? You give the world title shot immediately at SummerSlam, so you got to keep that in mind as well. Gunther has a world title shot at SummerSlam. And the one question mark I have, and this is good things, right? It's confusion, but it's, you don't like it to be too predictable, right? Because there's multiple different ways you can do this. Because in my brain, before knowing the King of the Ring winner was getting a world title shot, was Drew and Punk would be for the world title. Now, that can't be it, right? So the other issue I have in this is Damian Priest versus Gunther for the world title SummerSlam worthy to you?
Yes.
You think it is?
Yes. Because there's a lot surrounding that. And not on Gunther's side. Gunther just has to win it. That's his crowning moment. The whole story with Judgment Day, the breakdown of Judgment Day, who Priest trying to rally it together, but they're doing their own thing. That's your story that leads to him losing that title.
Right. Yeah.
It's a story that leads to him keeping it and losing it with a sprinkle of CM Punk in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think the story is, don't get me wrong, Priest has done a nice job as champion. Right. I think I just had in my brain, think about what we've kind of booked for Punk in our head since he's been back. We had Punk Seth at WrestleMania, it didn't happen. We assumed Punk Drew would happen potentially at SummerSlam. We put the world title automatically in that equation. And I think that knowing that match is much bigger than a Priest versus Gunther match makes it feel wrong that that's the world title match and not Drew versus Punk, especially because of all of this, right? Like, even the Punk issue that Drew has, everything about Drew has been him being world champion. So the fact that his SummerSlam story or his SummerSlam match would not involve the world title in any sense, that feels like we're missing something there, right? And I think there's something to say, too, that we're used to the big four pay-per-views, right? Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, getting the big payoff matches. Right. Every PLE is big now in Triple H's era, right? Money in the Bank's in Toronto. This isn't just going to be some throwaway, Fastlane pay-per-view. Random arena show, right? Like, that's going to be a big deal. You could put Punk Drew in there, right? And let that be the payoff for that feud. Because, again, even though, you got to save that for SummerSlam, just like we thought, you got to save certain things for WrestleMania. Well, they gave it to us at Elimination Chamber because Elimination Chamber was huge because it's in Australia. And the year before, it was in Montreal. So the fact that PLEs are so much bigger, I think we automatically are trained from old wrestling brains to put big matches on the big pay-per-views.
Right.
Not realizing that Triple H envisions every PLE being that big pay-per-view that we can put it on. Right. And I think that plays a role into when this Drew Punk thing could happen. But
using your framework that you just laid out there, why can't we have Priest and Gunther at SummerSlam?
Yeah. I guess, but then you're also, again,
because do you really want to make the thing and I'm guessing this is where their heads are at as far as creatively. You had Priest cash in a really high tension moment that had nothing to do with him. Right. But it worked out perfectly. Do you really want to just make that look like, okay, this guy's just kind of like serving a purpose as champion? This doesn't really mean it. Because you had Seth Rollins make that title actually mean something in the end. Right. Then you have a guy now, so you want to continue that momentum. Yeah. You have a guy who you don't want the fans to look at as, okay, well, you're just kind of champion in name. That doesn't mean anything. I would say, why not have him have a defense against? If he loses at SummerSlam, fine, but have him win at the Clash of the Castle. Yeah, Clash of the Castle. Have him retain. Make it credible. Because here's the thing: whether he loses that at the Clash or he loses that at SummerSlam, you have to make sure that loss or retention is meaningful for him. Not just, all right, you just eked out a win as a champion no one cares about, because I think it matters that he's a champion.
Well, I think if he drops it at SummerSlam, you're looking at a 4-month reign. And again, we've talked about title reigns don't need to be, 5 years anymore, right? Like we've seen Roman's long run and so many others where it's like, 4 months is quality reign. Yeah. And I think that would be a quality reign for Damian Priest. So you have him retaining here, and does Punk help him?
Inadvertently, kind of like WrestleMania.
So you do have CM Punk getting involved, and you have Priest retaining here.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I think that's the way, but man, and I think that moment.
You're talking about Clash at the Castle, right?
Yeah, Clash at the Castle.
Okay, so the interesting thing about that is, I think you're going to have a segment of that audience that's going to boo CM Punk, so it's going to seem like Bizarro World.
Yes.
Because they're there for their hero.
Right.
If Punk squanders that moment for him, it's like, all right, dude, you screwed us all over. We're here to see a win by McIntyre.
I think you officially talked me into Drew losing here, because I came into this show fully on board with Drew winning, and I think Priest Gunther, they've had a couple promos that can be your SummerSlam feud, and I think Triple H will go for that moment where Punk is going to screw Drew, but like you said, it's going to be Bizarro World in the sense of, most of that crowd is going to hate Punk for that.
It's going to be weird because normally the moment Punk shows up, everybody loses their minds.
Exactly.
This crowd's going to boo him.
Yep. No, I agree. I think Priest retains here. Another title match we got, Clash at the Castle. A few more matches to get through. Bayley and Piper Niven for the women's title. How do you feel about this feud, and who you got winning?
I got Bayley winning. I think it's going to be a really hard-fought match for her. I think they're going to book it well like that way. I like it. I like when you take it. Bayley's a great champion. I love when you put not always the assumed challengers and okay, well, we got to get this person because they're a main eventer too. No, just line up challengers, and Piper Niven's a great challenger.
Yeah, I think with Nia Jax winning the Queen of the Ring, Bayley, Nia Jax, that's a quality SummerSlam feud.
That's what we're leading to, and that's going to be the big...
Yeah, that's the big payoff there. Nothing against Piper. I like her getting this moment in the sense of being in Scotland, but Bayley retains here. And again, like I mentioned, we still have Money in the Bank in between. Yep. You can give Bayley one more quality number one contender.
Priest can win that briefcase again. Oh no! If he loses, he can win. No, he can't. He'll be champion. Never mind.
Yeah, well, Drew.
Or Drew can win it.
See?
Yeah.
Money in the Bank. Drew heading into a match with Punk at SummerSlam.
See, because now if Drew has that,
he could be in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah. Now he holds a lot more. He holds a lot more of the cards if he has that briefcase.
And I think that briefcase being involved in a Drew McIntyre CM Punk SummerSlam match gives that briefcase a lot more.
Oh God, if he wins that briefcase,
relevance.
We're never going to hear the end of it.
Oh, it's going to be amazing, dude. Yeah, I got Bayley retaining here. Yeah. IC title: Sami Zayn, Chad Gable. How you feel about this match? Who you got winning?
I feel like this has to be Chad Gable's win here. It has to. You got to. He's doing like probably the greatest work I've seen him do.
Yeah.
In a while, and I think this is where you have to cap that off. Sami is. He can get it back. You can keep that feud going because he's gonna lose it in a like unjust way. But at the same time, you got this whole Otis thing happening.
Yeah, I think this has got to be Chad Gable's moment. I'm sorry, and I've said this in the past. I'm not a fan of Sami Zayn's title run. I was not a fan of him beating Gunther at WrestleMania.
Well, think about what's happening with this whole feud, right? What are we focusing on? Chad Gable and Otis.
Yeah.
Who's the champion?
By the way. And this whole feud has been focused on Chad Gable.
Yeah.
The entire feud with a sprinkle of Bronson Reed.
What do a majority of the fan base want to happen with this feud? Who do they want to be champion?
Chad Gable.
There you go.
It's a Kurt Angle, Team Angle thing, and I think if you're going to get at some point the Creed brothers involved to take out Otis and
my next step.
Right? Like, that's your Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. I think Chad Gable being a champion makes more sense for that moment to happen.
You have Chad Gable win that title, have him show up. They have a whole celebration they're going to do for him. You book it with him just saying, as champion, we got to make some changes. Creed brothers attack Tozawa and Otis.
That's how you do it. Yeah, I got Chad Gable winning it here. Women's tag titles, triple threat. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill have two number one contenders: Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark. Alba, Fyre, and Isla Dawn. Who you got winning?
Champs retain.
Champs retain. Yeah, you got to make Bianca and Jade look strong here. I do think, and we saw them on SmackDown real quick in a backstage segment, I think a Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax tag team going at
and that
Bianca
works.
and Jade.
I mean, just the combination of the two, because one is obviously more physically imposing than the other.
Right.
But it's almost like not even almost, it is. It's an upgraded version of Piper Niven and Chelsea Green.
Yeah. 100%. And I love Piper Niven and Chelsea Green.
But that same dynamic is there where it's like, I believe that, but now you're main event caliber.
It's main event, exactly. Championship caliber, main event caliber. Let's get over to AEW, Double or Nothing, most recently in Vegas. We saw the return of MJF coming back at Double or Nothing. How do you feel in terms of his career? Did he make the right choice going back to AEW?
You and I joked a lot off camera about that. About when he shows up in the Rumble, Cody's next feud for Survivor Series. But you know what? I mean, the guy's still young, and I'm not trying to say it was the greatest decision. I'm trying to say I kind of understand it, but I don't, because I'm almost like, all right, you have maybe one good world title run, maybe another good feud in you.
Yeah.
A lot of the best names there are not there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just like, all right, man, hopefully for a couple of years, get your money and then get out.
Right. Look, I'm going to start off by saying he's going to regret that tattoo very soon.
That's the one thing I think was a horrible idea.
That was a horrible. This is like when
I can be explained into the return.
Yes.
But the tattoo, bro,
like,
come on, man.
When years from now, when you show up in WWE and everyone knows you got that AEW tattoo on the back of your calf, you're going to look like an idiot. And you're either going to have to, and what happens if something goes left? I'm sorry. This feels like, I texted this to you, and I say this in the sense of the issues that we've seen in AEW, both legitimately behind the scenes, creatively, and so on. This feels like that friend that you have that's in a bad relationship. They're fighting every other week. And
they keep telling you about it.
They keep venting to you about it. They won't end it. And then because they had a good weekend, they got their tattoo named on their body.
Right. No, we had a great weekend, so we got engaged.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, wow.
After 6 months of telling me you were in hell, that's awesome, dude. How do you think this is going to go?
Congratulations.
By the way, so what happened? Okay. Double or Nothing. I really felt like this was kind of a low-key write-off for Adam Cole. Like, we're done with that. Moving on. Because the follow-up of MJF's appearance on Dynamite, it was just very like...
No, we're not talking about Adam Cole. So
we're not going to address that anymore?
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, so I'm with you. I can understand why MJF would make this move. I think a lot of the homegrown AEW talent, including MJF, they are just so, and I appreciate it, invested in that company, right? Invested in making it work in that company.
Right.
Specifically the ones that started there, not, and I know don't get me wrong, I know they had careers elsewhere in the indies and such, but I'm talking about this is where they made their
mainstream
name.
exposure.
Their mainstream exposure was AEW, and MJF is at the top of that list. Yeah. So I can understand and appreciate the dedication to want to make it work there. Obviously, between the two companies, WWE does make more sense. There's a lot more organization there. Yeah. You have a much more experienced person running the ship there creatively. You have two separate brands, so there's more time to make your story feel important, because let's remember, MJF returning to AEW was the second thing on the Double or Nothing card. It didn't open the show. No. It didn't close the show. It casually happened after the first match. How'd you feel about that?
I really would have wanted to close the show with that, but here's the thing. Adam Cole just coming out arbitrarily towards the end of the show, people would have kind of figured, okay, we're getting MJF return. Something's going to happen here.
Sure.
But even still, I probably would have gone that route.
Yes.
Just to end strong. Because you start strong, now you got to hope the rest of the show holds up to the big whatever. But end it on a strong note, because that's going to be the last thing people remember. It's going to be all the buzz.
Yeah.
It's basically what everybody took away anyway, outside of Adam Copeland's injury. So it's just...
Well, and I think MJF, by the way, shout out to the Triple H 2002 return with the jacket.
Oh, dude, yeah, I know.
That was awesome. But I think
people just randomly walk around with like a denim vest over a leather jacket these days.
Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so... Even if it was expected or predictable with that, if Adam Cole came out like near the end of the show, MJF's promo would have been enough for us to still get that shock value.
Yes.
Because he still has that in him. You never know what the dude's going to say. Yep. Now, I will say, I think it's time for him to retire bringing up Vince McMahon in every promo.
Yeah, when he said, I was like, dude, nobody needs a Vince McMahon anymore.
I'm sorry. Like, you've been back 90 seconds and you've already name dropped Vince McMahon.
By the way, we say his name now.
Yeah.
Vince.
Vince. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, there's no Mister in that anymore. But no, I think that would have given enough shock value to end the show well. I understand why he would have went back to AEW, but look, between the two, with how big of a star MJF is, how young he is, like he's in his prime right now. WWE does make more sense. Yeah. And and everyone has said it for years, whenever he ends up in WWE, that dude's going to be a huge star. But I also think a reason why WWE makes more sense is because he's so young, MJF still shows a lot of immaturity, right? Yeah. The dude is a great talker. He's not a great promo. There's two different things. He's a phenomenal talker, but when I say he's not a great promo, he goes back to the same thing over and over again. The same, I mentioned WWE. I mentioned Triple H. Yeah. I mentioned Bruce Pritchard. I mentioned NXT. I mentioned someone that doesn't work here.
Let me make sure I hit all my edgy points.
Let me make sure I hit Cody Rhodes, by the way, right? Because he's the biggest name over there.
You take MJF now. Now, here's the thing, and you stressed it enough, too, is that he is young.
Yeah.
You hope that it's like, all right, well, you're young. Go, sow your wild oats, whatever. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Get it out of your system. But in the process, don't get an injury that's going to shorten your career. Because when you get to your late 20s or your early 30s, when you can get into WWE, you kind of want to have a good run there. Now, the MJF now, you said it, immature. You want to put that MJF now under the care of Shawn Michaels? I don't know how well that's going to work.
I think you put it under the care of Triple H.
I was gonna say, if I don't think he'd go to NXT.
He's not an NXT guy. He goes straight to the main roster.
But Triple H or Shawn Michaels are gonna tell him, right, dude, you're, like you said, great talker. You have the confidence and the swag and the mic in front of the audience. You can stick with them. They'll stick with you. What are you saying?
Right. I do appreciate with the return that Tony Khan isn't getting excited and just throwing him into the main picture. Like it's a gradual return. His first feud is with Roosh.
Right, exactly, yeah.
That's
which is like, it's like,
mid-card.
okay, that's a mid-card. When I saw him, like, well, this isn't what I expected, but let's work him into it.
Yeah. How would you handle his return? How soon is he in the world title picture? How soon is he holding a title?
I think you have him try to get recruited by the Elite. You have because he did his shit talking already.
Yeah.
Oh, you can have the Bucks come out there and kind of be the smarmy EVPs and smooth. Oh, let's just talk. Let's take it offline. Let's go talk and discuss. And he's just talking shit to him the whole time. And you can have a thing where he's going against Rainmaker and however you want to work that. I wouldn't put a title on him right away. I'm worried with how they're going to move that world title.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want him there yet. I think the eventual money may be him and Ospreay, because I'm saying Ospreay because I feel like Swerve's going to get the shaft here, dude.
Yeah, well,
we'll get to that, but anyway, I say all that to say I don't want to push him very quickly.
Yeah, I do appreciate, like I said, like his first feuds with Roosh, right? Like this is a mid-card feud. Obviously, he's going to win.
You can stretch out an EVP feud with him.
Sure.
And EVP. You can work that out with the Elite.
The one thing that makes it a question mark for me, and I know it's his health that plays a role, but he did something, is this Adam Cole whole, and even if it's not Adam Cole, the whole group is still in AEW.
Right, so if he's not, so what's the point now?
How is his focus not, I want Undisputed Kingdom, right? Because, he took out Adam Cole a Double or Nothing. Adam Cole may not be healthy right now to have a match, have a feud. But Roderick Strong just came off a title run. That'd be a quality feud.
Yeah.
He could, and MJF's brain, they all fooled him. It wasn't just Adam Cole. They all took him out. How are you not going beeline right for them and making that your only? Why are you're calling out every big name in the company, which in the grand scheme of things, yes, that's good.
And outside of the company.
And outside the company. And in the grand scheme of things, yes, that makes sense because it's MJF, whatever. But in story, you were taken out, you were robbed of your title, and you were fooled by Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom, and not once did you mention that.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of continuity, we're talking about a months-long invested storyline, the biggest storyline of the company at that time. Now, with him coming back at Double or Nothing, and then Adam Cole's basically getting like sunned out of the ring,
right?
And then his promo has nothing to do with Undisputed Kingdom.
Right.
His follow-up promo has nothing to do with Undisputed Kingdom. It's like, so are we all supposed to just collectively forget this long storyline that happened, and now you yourself, the victim of all of it, are back for what? Not for that?
That's the whole point. Especially, again, we're talking about a big name like MJF. That's why it blows my mind it didn't close the show. Right. The only reason why I would have forgiven it not closing the show is if Swerve's title defense ended it. Instead, we had that mess of an anarchy in the arena that was just...
Hey, somebody got lit on fire.
Exactly. Like that was just a train wreck of a mess.
You really could have ended that with the title match.
Yes.
Which, I mean, come on. Can we at least act like Swerve is the champion now?
Please, right? Can we let him close out shows? Can we let his feuds
Can we have the
feel
logo
most
come
important?
up with him holding up the championship victorious?
Yes.
Like, come on.
At the end of a pay-per-view, like, come on. Like, and it doesn't need to be a crazy match. Like, that's how you make a championship run look important, is Just the fact that he's the champion defending his title, boom, you're the main event.
This MJF discussion has branched us off to so many frustrations.
That's my point, right?
So much,
and it leads because
so
MJF was and then MJF opened Dynamite and then was done.
Right.
Like, this dude was the face of your company, was your champion. How is this return not feeling like a bigger deal? I appreciate gradual to an extent, but how is this not a bigger deal? Like, that blows my mind. Let's get through a few more things before we get out of here. Solo Sikoa, the new Bloodline. Tamatonga, Tongaloa, Paul Heyman reluctantly there.
Poor Paul.
How do you feel about this?
I love it, man. It's just it's not even because it's such a departure from what it was. It's just like this violent group of mercenaries now, where Paul Heyman just has to pretend that he's so terrified to not fall in line.
Yeah.
And when the crowd chants, "We want Roman," Paul's just like, "Please, God, yes, come and save me!" Like, I love it. I love it, and I want to see. Actually, I want to see more. I want to see Jacob Fatu show up. I want to see something else happen here.
Yeah, I love what it means in the grand scheme of things. I think, watching that promo, calling Tamatonga the right hand man.
Yeah.
Right. Like, all these
thank
references,
both of them individually.
Yes, using Roman's spear, all of that. Like, this gets me the moment Roman comes back.
Yeah.
To put Solo in check, and honestly, I am okay with this. The Usos coming back together
now
to coming at them.
Right.
That moment is going to be moment of the year if it happens.
Roman's return is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. I mean, that crowd is going to go nuts. He's going to be babyface from the start. Roman coming back to check Solo. Now, here's the thing. I wonder. He coming back to check Solo? Does that involve The Rock? Does that bring the... Because I feel like this group is The Rock's group, not Solo's.
And you mentioned earlier in the show, The Rock may not be back for a while. It's like, okay, if when people talked about War Games and this and that, The Rock was, at least when Solo first started post WrestleMania doing this, The Rock was on Solo's side in my brain. Yeah. But if The Rock's not back till next year, and The Rock's only coming back for this feud with Cody, do we need it?
I almost kind of want to wait. I almost say you could... Well, because you kind of inadvertently set up a Cody Rock match.
But that's the thing. Triple H, and we talked about this at the world title picture, he plants so many different seeds where you don't know which one he's going to target, because he planted the Rock Cody thing. We know a Rock Roman match should happen at some point. This is the Rock's family, the bloodline. He was with Roman and Solo before he left. So now all these seeds are planted where it's like, okay, The Rock could come back for a match with Cody at SummerSlam and could get involved in his bloodline stuff. Yeah. Or The Rock could have nothing to do with his bloodline stuff, and we don't see him until he comes back to face Cody at next year's WrestleMania.
There's so many avenues you could take. I almost feel like there has to be some sort of, like, if The Rock doesn't get involved.
Right.
You could get Cody in on that in the sense of there's supposed to be some public punishment, humiliation of Roman, where, I don't know, they're going to strap him to the ropes and lash him or whatever, and Cody comes out to help. That's where you can kind of run that without saying we have to do a one-on-one feud.
Yes.
It's just, like you said, the seeds are planted all over the place for this thing.
Triple H, he loves playing with fire, right? Yeah. Because he plants so many different seeds, he gets people excited, but you don't know which one he's going to execute on. And there's going to be some people upset.
The cool thing is, though, you got options.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
People are going to be upset, but it's a healthy upset for the wrestling industry. Because, okay, I like what you're doing, but man, I really wish you would have done this.
Yeah.
Right? I was excited for this.
Go left instead of right, or go right instead of left.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm good either way. So Triple H loves playing with fire. I love it, but I do love what this means. Roman, whether Rock's involved or not, putting Solo in check, that moment is going to be moment of the year.
The most emotional moment out of all of that is Paul Heyman just running to Roman Reigns when he comes
in his arms,
just running and clinging. No, not even that, just clinging to his leg, like, please. Oh, thank God you're here.
Save me! Thank God you're here.
just weeping openly.
You mentioned Adam Copeland. Fractured leg at Double or Nothing, dropping the TNT title. Who do you want to see hold the TNT title?
Jack Perry.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. And I hate it, but it makes sense. Because, I mean, everything, the Elite should have the gold. It shouldn't even be a qualifying thing. They really should just did what they were going to do and just hand it to him.
Right. No.
But Little Pierce came out and ruined the whole plan.
Shout out Christopher Daniels.
Little Pierce. Christopher Daniels. We had Little Nate, now we have Little Pierce.
Yeah, man, Jack Perry makes the most sense. I do appreciate that they didn't. I will say I don't love Tony Khan being on TV. The dude does not know how to act when he's in front of a camera. But
just write the checks, Tony.
And I love that Christopher Daniels is that mouthpiece for Tony Khan.
He's very good at it.
Yeah. And I love the little, wrench in their plans. I love the whole elite angle right now with the Young Bucks. And I do appreciate that they didn't allow them to hand the title to Jack Perry, because that's going to make his title run mean more, because even though we hate it, he's going to go earn it in a ladder match at Forbidden Door. And even though we hate it, we have to respect it because he won a freaking ladder match, right? Dude just got set on fire at Anarchy in the Arena, right? Like, you can respect the grind a little bit.
You get set on fire, you get a championship, man. Go out there.
Congratulations. Again, catching up on news from over the last few weeks. SummerSlam going to 2 nights in Minnesota in 2025. How do you feel about this?
That's great for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And potentially whoever
2026,
else.
actually. 2025
See,
is
I don't know what they're
announced. They keep saying that, too. They keep saying, that's in 2026. What are we doing for 2025? Yeah. They say that openly on TV.
They're going out of the country.
They're going to the moon. SummerSlam live
that crowd on the moon's gonna be nuts,
insane, dude.
Get ready, France. You're gonna have some competition. But I think it's gonna be interesting, man. It's uncharted waters. We've never seen that before. Just like when there was 2 nights of WrestleMania,
right?
We were, the pandemic was a different time, but they continued since then, and we're like, how does this 2 night thing work?
Yeah,
you felt one way about it now. I love it now.
Yeah,
I think SummerSlam's probably gonna be the same thing, where we're like, do we need 2 nights? Do we really need 2 nights? After a couple 2 nights events, if they stick with that, that was really good. They went 2 nights, because now you get everything you want on a SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, I trust Triple H. I mean, it shows how big WWE is. First off, this is clearly I'm sorry for WrestleMania to Minnesota.
It really is.
It really is. Identical to the point that we're giving you 2 nights.
I didn't take you to McDonald's, but I can grill you some hamburgers at home, okay?
That's what it is.
It's going to be just as good.
Fries are coming out soon.
I'll get you some wings. I'll deep fry some wings, too. You'll be all right.
That's
Don't worry.
exactly what this is. I trust Triple H. I do. But I will say, don't get too greedy with this 2 night thing. It ended up working out with WrestleMania. It might just be a one-off thing. It's, as far as we know, it is for SummerSlam. I mean, it's a few years away, so we don't know what the landscape will look like. But if you're basing it off what we have right now, they have more than enough content to fill 2 nights. I just don't want to get too greedy with the 2 night thing. I want a 2 night WrestleMania to continue to feel special. And if SummerSlam's 2 nights every year, it just takes away WrestleMania feeling that much special.
It's almost like doing a 2 night Royal Rumble. Even though there are 2 Rumbles.
Right.
Do I need 2 separate nights?
But that's the point. WrestleMania should feel above the rest. And if SummerSlam's going to feel like a second WrestleMania, then WrestleMania loses some of its,
It's well, I mean, they could also sell it as WrestleMania is your Super Bowl and SummerSlam is your Summer Festival.
Sure. And that's
I get it.
That's cool.
I really feel like WrestleMania, to your point, should just stand out as the show of all shows.
Right. You mentioned it earlier. Will Ospreay's getting a world title shot against Swerve at Forbidden Door. How do you feel about this move?
I feel like it's already a foregone conclusion, and I hope I'm wrong. At this point, I really wish that it was Will Ospreay getting a title shot against Samoa Joe at this point, because I don't see what they've done with Swerve to really make me say his first title reign. You want to talk about, first black AEW champion and all that. Well, that's fine. That's cool. But that's really all you got out of it.
Right.
It's kind of a novel thing where you didn't really push him on the shows as this is our guy. Yeah.
I hate it. I hate, this is on both ends. This is Tony Khan getting excited because he has a good thing, right? Yeah. He has a good thing in Will Ospreay. He has a great thing in Will Ospreay, right? And up until this moment, he has played it perfectly. Quality non-title feuds on pay-per-views. You gave him a mid-card title. Let him just focus on that title for a while.
Let him have a long run with that title to where it's that's the Will Ospreay title.
Right. No, and that's the point, right? And that would add to Will Ospreay's thing. And then on the other end, it's exactly your point. Now we're just going to either cut Swerve short, or we're going to have Will Ospreay take a loss on pay-per-view after winning the title, which, by the way, he's not even focusing on a pay-per-view.
Against a champion who we barely care about.
It's just Tony Khan getting too excited and saying, put him in the world title picture. The match is great, right? Yeah. Of course it is. Swerve and Ospreay, that's going to steal the show at Forbidden Door. Yes. But in the grand scheme of the moment, Swerve having his title run, Ospreay just got a title. We don't need this right now. You don't need to shoot them to the top. You really don't. Let it play out. MJF just got back. Bryan Danielson's in the Owen Hart Cup. He's talking about getting an all-in shot at London. And I think that adds to the possibility of Ospreay winning it at Forbidden Door. Back. To run back Ospreay
amazing
Danielson.
Match. And I would love to see it again.
In London and Wembley.
Not at the detriment of Swerve.
That's exactly what this is going to turn into.
But then it's at this point, if you're going to keep going with Swerve Strickland like this, how do you salvage that title run. Like,
it's going to be the same thing we've seen. When people lose titles in AEW, they go away for a little bit. And that's what's going to happen with Swerve.
He's going to lose it for Forbidden Door. Jericho's learning tree. And this match needs Jericho. We need a third person. Chris.
Oh, God. Chris, we need you.
We need you. You know what to do.
Let's get to that. How bad is that? That learning tree angle.
Okay, I can appreciate the fact that they're leaning into the very real, like, people are annoyed with Jericho thing, and he's using it just like his line a couple weeks ago, where he's like, "You want me to retire so I can be in all the Hall of Fames?" I know, I get it. Like, I appreciate that. You know, it's just
right.
Like I get that you're having fun with it, and it's wrestling. I get it. That's fine. But, dude, really, like,
that's my point. Look,
I don't see what you do with this. I don't. What's Jericho going to do? Get the world title?
This is not the type of heat that you lean into, though, right? No. People are genuinely sick of seeing Jericho because he is not good anymore in the ring. He's not good anymore on the mic. He's not good anymore selling to make what he's saying believable. You could tell he's just trying to push an angle actively on TV. He is past his prime.
He's got a sweet contract.
And that's what it is, right? Tony Khan loves Jericho. He's got a sweet contract, but the heat isn't quality heat. This is genuinely, we want to see someone else. Not, oh, you're a heel, we want to see the faces. We want to see the better heels. We want to see the people who could put on a good match now. So this isn't the type of heat that you lean into, and these segments are cringe.
Yes.
Horrible.
Yes.
And again, it is not the type of cringe that's like, oh my God, he's so silly, it's so funny, it's such a goof, chicken shit heel, whatever. No, this is like, dude, you are so bad.
We're a long way away from that Jericho.
Yes, Brian Keith is bad, right? This whole angle is bad. It's not quality heat.
Brian Keith, seriously.
It's bad.
I'm like, okay, we had Big Bill, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why are you here? Like, what are we doing with this? Like,
and Big Bill went from a quality tag team with Ricky Starks, who hasn't been seen, by the way,
where's Ricky Starks?
Like, Big Bill had a quality tag team title run with Starks.
I think Jericho would be better served if we barely saw him and he was just like every once in a while just get Chris Jericho out there.
The big pay-per-views, man.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, he's going to come back for like a street fight. Okay, cool. Chris Jericho, love it. But they keep dropping him in feuds with guys that don't need him to be there.
Right.
Putting him in title match
and giving him a whole faction.
And then nothing happens with those people that he's there with. It's like, what are they even doing?
Nope. And that is why
Where's Hook's big giant push?
This is not the type of heat you lean into. When Jericho was getting those chants during that Hook feud, that is when you should have said, hey, Hook's going to beat you, and you're going to go away for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing it for us. This isn't the type of heat I don't want to show up and boo you.
We'll still pay you all your money.
Yeah.
Just go home for a while.
But as a fan, this isn't the type of heat where I want to show up and boo you. This is the type of heat where if you're on the card, I'm not showing up.
You're my bathroom break, dude.
Yes.
I'm going to go to the concession stand when you come out.
Yes.
There's nothing you can show me this
If
new.
you put them on the main match of a big card, I'll maybe check it out. Maybe I won't. I don't know.
And it pisses me off because I grew up such a fan of Jericho.
Yep.
I'm a big Jericho fan. And to see him just kind of being drugged out like this,
yep.
I just drag him out there. It's like, dude, come on, man.
Yep. A couple more things before we get out of here. NXT made some headlines recently. Ethan Page showing up.
Yes.
Going for their world title. And from TNA, Jordynne Grace coming over for the women's title. How do you feel about these moves?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that Triple H and TNA, and they're not afraid to go there.
Right.
They're not afraid to be like, hey, we're two wrestling companies that exist. Let's not pretend that we don't know who each other are.
Yes.
And the fans win. We all win in the end.
Yeah. No, I love just that, and it involves AEW, right? When Ethan Page showed up, Vic Joseph on commentary was like, wasn't he an AE? Like, yeah. Love it.
We know.
Right.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Like, we're aware,
and
right?
Jordynne Grace, she's so awesome because she's so believable as a threat.
Right. And it's legit. And just having that, all the way to the main roster. When that happened, Drew McIntyre, people on the main roster are calling out people from TNA and vice versa. Jordynne Grace is having an open challenge in Chicago for TNA. It helps them out because now everyone's like, who's going to show up?
Yeah.
It could be someone from WWE.
What's cool about it, and even in my own experience, it's actually helped me to want to turn on TNA and be like, hey, who else could show up? I like the way that person looks. Maybe they could show up. And then that's the point.
But that's when the wrestling industry, when it's done well, that's how the wrestling industry thrives, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. And Triple H gets that, and he's doing it well. And it includes AEW. Yeah. And AEW is open to doing that just as much as WWE is. Yeah. It's just obviously the maturity level of one person running it compared to the other. That's where you're going to run into that issue.
Heads, yeah.
Right? But when it comes to TNA, because there's quality names in TNA. There really is. And the fact that not only helping TNA for big WWE stars to show up, there's good names in TNA that they showed up on Raw or SmackDown. People are going to lose their minds.
Yes. And again, it serves to people saying, well, let me see when TNA's on. I want to check out their show now.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody wins.
And shout out to Ethan Page. Dude's a talent.
Yes.
I've always, when he was taken seriously, he had one specific promo when MJF was world champion on Collision where he called out MJF. And he was, right then and there, I'm like, this dude is legit. And I love that he could go, I thought either TNA or NXT, where he could be a bigger deal because there's less going on, because he is a big deal. And I love that.
Now he's under the HBK learning tree. So
and what that could mean for him in the long run. Which is a damn good
tree to be under. So
how much longer before Ricky Starks is doing the same thing? Because
I don't think it's going to be that much longer.
I do. And you talk about MJF being a star in WWE or Ethan Page. Ricky Starks is a star.
Ricky Starks versus Trick Williams. Sign me up
Come
right
on.
now. Sign me up for that right now.
And Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Jeez.
Oh, dude, magic.
In the same company with Cody, too, by the way.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
New faction.
All right, last thing. How do you want this love triangle to end with Dom Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley?
I don't know. So I haven't really worked that out in my mind. I'm loving what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's so many pieces involved in this now. And I love how Dom is basically just being played off like, I don't like her. I don't want it. It's like, dude, you're doing everything to be around her.
Right.
You're smirking and grinning. We see it. All I know is I want this kind of fake sort of, Rhea, mommy comes back and kind of like, I forgive you. And then just the need of the nuts for him, just like.
What Triple H is doing is adding a lot of fire to returns.
Yes.
Right? We talked about with the Bloodline. What that's doing for whenever Roman shows up again, like it's going to feel so much bigger, right? For a while there in every company, people would go away, get hurt, whatever, and they would return. And it would be cool, but it wasn't a crazy big deal.
Right.
But you're adding this fire where you can't wait for Roman to show up, and when he does, it's going to be like he's been gone for 5 years. Yeah. It's the same thing here,
just
right?
building that tension.
It's building that tension, that heat with Liv Morgan and Dom, even if it's only a couple months, from now or a month from now. When Rhea shows up, the building is going to lose their mind.
Because what's everybody already collectively saying? Oh, she's going to be pissed. Wait till she comes back. Wait till she comes back. She's going to kill you both. And now it's just you're waiting for her music to hit at any moment. And it's going to be great.
And I think this is a good way for Dom in the long run, even if it is an NXT thing, to go off on his own. At the end of this, I don't think Rhea keeps him around.
I don't see why.
Right? So I think you play out this story, and Dom can go to be Dom, because that dude...
He's actually pretty fucking great,
yes,
dude. Like,
he is built...
He's really coming to his own as a heel, as a wrestler.
Yes,
like, he's
he has
good.
built a great resume for himself to go to NXT and be their NXT World Champion a year from now. You know what I mean? Lil Eddie.
Lil Eddie. Looking more like Eddie every week, man.
Yeah. Mustache coming in and everything.
Tell him, boy, he looks like your goddamn daddy, boy. I remember you.
Oh, man. Roar Around the Ring, new episodes weekly. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, Darrell Daryl Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. Talk to you guys very soon.